And a good morning to you on this Thursday morning on March 21st. It is finally March Madness time where we enjoy basketball all day today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. I am Dylan Denmark. The man beside me in a moment will be Graham Marsh, as he's making sure we are good on the YouTube and on the audio for all the podcasters on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast needs. We're always on the 1010XL podcast platform. Get that on 1010XL.com or any of those podcast needs. Graham, are you a little tired? Yes or yes?
Yes. I'm not a morning person. Anybody who knows me is well aware I'm not a morning person.
Yeah, for sure. So today on the pod, we're going to get into the Brandon Ayuk trade, speculation, rumors, Jags, Steelers. I want to talk about that and what happens at 17 with receiver, because it's pretty evident that the top three receivers in the draft are going to be Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, and Rome Odunze. And then after that, it kind of gets a little iffy on who is the fourth guy and the fifth, and then so on and so on from there. The Gators play Colorado Friday. If Florida plays that same Colorado team that played last night and they lose to that Colorado team, that's a bad year. We're going to get into that a little bit, and then Florida knows who their opponents are in 2025. But, of course, let's start with our Jacksonville Jaguars here in Duval County. For me, the rumor going around from Brandon Ayuk coming to Jacksonville is you would have to give up a first-round pick. Now, if you give up that first-round pick, you have him for 1 year, and then you're probably going to have to extend him, and it would have to be between $25 to $27 million per year, whatever it is, 4 or 5 years. I don't think that is worth it for Jacksonville, because once you go down that road of, okay, you're going to pay him, there's something along the lines of you're not going to be able to pay many other guys. Now, your offense will be good, but you're probably not going to be able to pay Tyson Campbell next year or any other position that you have. And I still would rather have that number 17 pick. And I'll get into Jacksonville and what they should do with that 17 pick in the second and third round. But 17, I think, is more valuable to me than getting Brandon Ayuk for the next couple of years and paying him massive money.
If it wasn't for the contract, I'd probably be willing to pull the trigger. But the fact that you're going to have to give up the compensation and then pay big money, and like you said, probably have to sacrifice some other big contract extensions that are looming next offseason, those things combined made it a little bit rich for my blood, in my opinion. I'd love to have him. If you're telling me that everything's the same, but I got to give my second round pick, I'll probably do it. Yeah. If you're telling me that we can swap firsts and then I give my second round pick, maybe do it.
Yeah, because then you would get the 31st.
Yeah.
Because obviously the second team. Brandon Ayuk's a guy that he's a good receiver. He's a number one receiver, but how, then you get into, okay, where of a number one is he? Is he top 10? Is he top 15? I think he's 15, 20, if I had to say, because he's not in that class of Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams. He's not in that class. He's that tier or two below them.
I agree that he's not, but are there 10 receivers in that tier?
In that tier one, there's 5.
Yeah, I think he's
there's a 10 of there's a tier of 10 after that 5.
I'd put Ayuk back half of the top 10, 9, 10.
Yeah, I'd agree. So I wanted to throw that out there because we forgot to mention it Monday, and there was a lot of rumors. Evidently, he's reached out to Mike Tomlin. I think, I don't think any of that is any truth to him coming to Jacksonville. So when you look at the 17th pick in the draft, everything looks at corner. It looks like, your best corner is probably going to be available right around 15. Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, your two DBs from Alabama. So the question I'm going to throw out there is, where should the Jaguars pick receiver in the draft?
First of all, you just had an option to say the name Kool-Aid McKinstry. You didn't do it.
Yeah. Every time I say Kool-Aid, I want to go, hey, Kool-Aid, from, if you remember from Fresh Prince from back in the day. I forget what episode he said that, Will Smith. So if you look at the receivers, the top three are going to be Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison. That they're probably going to go top 12. They're the most consistent. They're the most talented. After that, Graham, if you look at the receivers, and I'm just going to name a couple. The one from LSU, Brian Thomas. 2 from FSU, Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman. The 2 from Texas, A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, who broke the 40 record. And then Ladd McConkey, Ricky Pearsall. A lot of those guys only had one good year in college. There's only been a few, Xavier Worthy, where he had like 60 catches in his first 2 years, and he had like 70 last year, where he was completely consistent. I am not willing to draft receiver in the first round betting on a guy that only had one good year.
Yeah, and when you factor in how deep of a class it is, there's still great value in that second round too. I'd maybe have a different opinion on it if there were, those 3 guys you said, maybe 2 to 3 more after that, and then this huge drop off. But after you just named the top 3 guys, you just named like 7 more.
Yeah, and I could have named a couple more, but
right, exactly.
These are the ones that we know.
Exactly. So there's so much depth in that receiver class. It's one of the deepest receiver classes ever. It's up there with I think it was the 2020 class. That was like crazy deep. That was led by Jamar Chase, I believe. And I think I agree with you. I think corner's a bigger need. And I think not only is it the need, but also the value will probably be more favorable there at 17, assuming they don't trade up or trade down. Because I think corner is a little bit different than receiver. I think that after some of those guys you just named, I do think there's a bit of a drop-off. Particularly when you factor in the fact that this guy is probably going to start for the Jaguars.
Yeah, he's a day 1 starter.
So, versus a receiver, you want him to play a lot. You want him to probably, at some point in the season, probably be a starter. But with the guys you got, it's okay if they're not one of your top 3 guys. If you get say they draft Ricky Pearsall, okay? Well, if Ricky Pearsall throughout training camp has kind of got to fight for a spot, and maybe first couple weeks he's not quite up to NFL speed yet, and it's really more Gabe Davis and Kirk and Zay and Ingram that they're throwing to, that's okay. That's not a big deal. If you draft a corner at 17 and it's week 1 and Ronald Darby's your starting outside corner, that's a problem. You can't have that.
No. And also, so here's a couple of the numbers that the guys have done in college. So Brian Thomas, if you look at a lot of mock drafts, the best one I've seen recently is Daniel Jeremiah, the one that came out, I think it was Monday on NFL Network. His first 2 years, he had 360 yards apiece. 2 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. Last year, went for almost 1,200 and 17 touchdowns. Now, granted, you benefit a lot from having Brian Kelly as your quarterback or your coach and having Jaden Daniels as your quarterback. Then you get A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell is the most consistent, like I said. Xavier Worthy was the most consistent, but A.D. Mitchell, 2 years ago, he had 9 catches for 130 yards. Last year, he blew up with 55 catches and almost 900 yards. And then also, too, you have to factor, like, Ricky Pearsall is a really good talent, tested well at the Combine, did really good at Senior Bowl, but played an offense where he couldn't really flourish and get the most out of him. You're
telling me a Billy Napier offense?
Yeah. Have you seen it? You're wearing a Gator hat. I would be perfectly fine with the Jags passing on the first 2 rounds and getting some receiver in the third. If it's a Ricky Pearsall, I don't know about Ladd McConkey. Everything that's shown that they said he did well at the Senior Bowl. I just don't know if Ladd McConkey comes to Jacksonville, he will play a significant amount of time. I think Ricky Pearsall does.
I do too.
Even regardless of whatever team he goes to, Pearsall feels like Hunter Renfrow coming out of college, like that. The dude that can play in the slide, can be shifty. He can get you 4 or 5 catches a game on a couple of good games, and then every now and then he'll probably disappear and get you 1 or 2 catches.
What those guys are really good for, and Christian Kirk is the best example of it, obviously, at doing it in the league. What those guys are really good for is okay, it's 3rd and 3. I need 5. It's 3rd and 5. I need 7. Those guys, because they're going to get favorable matchups most likely. They're going to have linebackers or safeties on them in the slot a lot of times. And those guys just can't stay with them. Unless you got a really good nickel corner you feel really good about, those guys always wiggle open from their man.
Yeah.
So, and Trevor really likes that, as you've seen in his career. I mean, how much better did Trevor get when Christian Kirk came to town?
Yeah, and Christian Kirk, I mean, how many times has he thrown that corner route to him?
Yep.
Or, any of those out routes that he...
Think about it in the Saints game, the little jerk route that won the game.
Yep. Yeah, the man-to-man. Was that 3rd down, I think it was?
Yeah, and it was 3rd down. Little jerk route. You kind of open your hips up outside and then dart right back inside. Totally lost there's a linebacker on him. Totally lost him. Got like 2 steps on him by the time he caught the ball, and it was only like a 4-yard route. Takes it to the house, game over. So I don't know if Ricky Pearsall's good.
That good.
I don't know if he's ever going to be
in that kind of class.
Right, but I mean, in college, he was a matchup problem for people, and he was really, really hard to stay on and didn't drop the ball very much. And I would love Pearsall here. I think he kind of makes a lot of sense for what they need, and he'd be a nice guy opposite Christian Kirk to do that type of thing. I don't know if I love Parker Washington being that guy. I think that'd be a pretty substantial upgrade, but who knows?
What about Keon Coleman? The guy that was at Michigan State when the Florida State had a pretty good year, had almost 700 yards, 11 touchdowns.
I was open to the Keon Coleman talks. The issue with Keon is it's so weird. He probably has, correct me if I'm wrong here from what you've seen, in terms of mocks, he probably has the biggest variance of where he goes. There are some mocks where I feel like he goes relatively early first, like, mid-teens where Jags are to late teens to early 20s type area. And there are other mocks where he goes like kind of late second.
Yeah.
There's a big... I'm really not sure where he's going to end up.
The thing is, he didn't have a good 40 time, which... me and you discussed before the combine. We don't know how much stock you should put in a 40.
I don't care at all.
Yeah, and I think he ran a 4.6. I think that's what ended up being a high 4.5, a low 4.6. But
watch him play. Did he look slow?
Right,
he never looked slow.
And that's the thing. Like we said a couple weeks ago, Deebo Samuel, that's a guy that's not slow, and you never see anybody catching him from behind. And he's leaving guys, and he ran a 4.55. Because there's a complete difference between 40 speed and game speed. And again... a lot of these guys, when you go to the combine, you test for the 40 at the combine or your pro day, you are testing specifically coming out of your 3-point stance, working on that explosive 10-yard split, opening up and getting as fast as you can with urgency, which, by the way, you don't come out of that stance for a receiver. Like, there's a... You ask a lot of these guys, and they'll say the tape, and then we get these tests from Pro Day and the Combine, and they go, well, he didn't do well
exactly,
here.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, so what is it?
So you don't really mean the tape.
Right,
yeah.
right. It's, it's prisoner of the moment stuff.
Yeah, I don't... The 40 time doesn't bother me. I don't really care that he ran a slow 40. I do think, in terms of the Jags, though, I do think they filled the Keon Coleman void with Gabe Davis. Don't you get the sense that that's the type of receiver Keon will be? Big body guy, contested catch guy,
go downfield.
Yeah, and they kind of just got that in Gabe Davis. So I don't know that I don't know where he fits in this receiver room in terms of what he brings to the table. Does he complement the other guys necessarily?
Yeah, and from the little bit I've watched Florida State the past year. Keon Coleman made a lot of guys miss within that 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. I mean, Gabe Davis doesn't do that, obviously. Gabe Davis is more of a guy that gets you downfield. Coleman was how many times you see he hurdled somebody or he juked somebody out? I don't know how much of that he will do in the NFL, how much that translates, but obviously you can see the athleticism that he has. Of this class and the receivers, is there anybody you look to and you go, I don't really care to have him in the first 3 rounds? Like, I don't want that receiver. Like, I have no interest in selecting him at all.
A guy specifically don't want.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think there's a guy. Lad McConkey. He didn't do much for me. It might be the Georgia thing. I don't know. I might be admitting bias here, but I just don't know. I feel like if Lad McConkey if he played for, Arkansas, he wouldn't have been the type of player he was. But I felt like with that offense, having one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC, a team that had a great line, a great running game, the best tight end in college football, I felt like things opened up for him in a way they wouldn't have opened up for him in other places. It's not to say he's not a good player. I just think I don't know that he would have had that type of production in other places. So I have caution for Lad McConkey because that versus like Ricky Pearsall, they're kind of similar players stylistically in what they do and what they would probably offer at an NFL level. Ricky Pearsall was producing in a not very explosive offense on a not very good team overall. That's more impressive to me, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. So let's dig into this. So if you look at the draft, Minnesota, we didn't talk about Monday. They traded with Houston, and now Minnesota has 2 first-round picks. Reports are out that they're going to have a private workout with J.J. McCarthy. Evidently, they love J.J. McCarthy, and they're trying to trade up either with Arizona in the top 5 or the Chargers in the top 5, somewhere in that range.
I mean, I was blown away with his ability to hand the football off.
Against Penn State?
Yeah.
32 consecutive times, I think it was, or whatever it was. So you're going to have Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and J.J. McCarthy more than likely go in that top 5, top 6. You'll have your top 3 receivers go in that top 12, top 13, I think at worst. And then from there, where Jacksonville picks, really the 15th pick is where everything kind of, the board starts to shuffle around with your corners and your receivers, the ones that are left, and then your interior D tackles. I think there's going to be 5 quarterbacks that go in the first round, maybe 6. You'll have the top 4 that I mentioned. You'll have Michael Penix. And everybody loves Bo Nix for some reason.
So you think these guys are going to the first round? I don't know.
I think there's going to be a run at them. I don't see a world where in the first round where 4 quarterbacks are taken at the very top, and then like nobody bites. I just don't see that happening.
I don't know. Oof, Bo Nix in the first round.
You look at all the mocks.
That's stinky. That is stinky.
And that's another, so we were talking about with these receivers. This guy didn't play well at Auburn at all. Then he goes to Oregon, and he becomes this decent player. But also, I mean, good Lord, we were in college. We were, juniors in 2018? No, 2019. And we saw him play. So we played 19, 20, 21, 22. Played like 5-6 years in the league or in college. Like that's a big difference. I think Anthony Richardson turns 21 in a couple of months. Like there's a big difference in age between.
I think Bo Nix's first year at Auburn, he was the quarterback, and Charles Barkley was leading the basketball team.
yeah, something like that. I mean, Bo Nix was the quarterback at Auburn before COVID happened. Yeah, and COVID was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing in college. You watch a lot of these guys, and they're 23, 24 years old, and you're competing against 18, 19-year-olds that, it's not...
It's like, man, they've gotten so much better.
Yeah, they've gotten so much better. It's like, well, damn, I mean, you're at the poker table, and you've seen everything.
Right,
You've experienced almost everything except, winning at the highest level. The Jacksonville at 17... You have Brock Bowers that could be available. You have Quinion Mitchell who's going to be right around there. I still think you take corner regardless of what. I think you have to take corner. You're getting this conversation of best available versus what you need. I think regardless, you take one of the 3 corners, whether it's Arnold, Kool-Aid, Cooper DeJean, Quinion Mitchell. Those are your top 4. And I wouldn't be opposed to any of those guys at 17.
What about Nate Wiggins?
The thing with the top four is Quinion Mitchell apparently did the best at the Senior Bowl. Like, nobody did anything, no receiver did anything well against him in practice. Cooper DeJean is dropping a little bit on a lot of the mocks because he didn't go to the combine. So you know how that works. He'll have a good pro day, and then then he'll go back up. And then the two Bama corners, one of them had a foot fracture. I can't remember which one. I think it was Arnold. Was it Arnold or Kool-Aid had the foot fracture?
I'm not sure.
And then the other one is pretty good. Any of those three are fine to me.
I'm not a big. Besides his name, I'm not a big Kool-Aid guy. I like Arnold better. If I have to rank the corners in terms of guys I'd like to see in Jacksonville the most to least of that bunch, it's Mitchell 1, Arnold 2. Who's DeJean 3, Kool-Aid 4.
You think they all go first round? I think three of them will.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I do think there's kind of there's you know how the draft goes. There's little pockets of stuff, right? I think where the Jags are, there's this little pocket of teams that may pick a corner, and then probably like once you get into the 20s, you may start seeing a couple more receivers or maybe some of those linemen. I think will go at that point. That's kind of seems like a sweet spot for some of those tackles, and maybe Jackson Powers Johnson goes in that tier as well. And then maybe back half of the first round, maybe some of the QBs you're talking about, and probably some more corners too, like a Kool-Aid type guy.
So let's move on to the Gators. Play Colorado tomorrow. Colorado played Boise last night in the play. I'm sure most of you didn't see it because the game didn't start until, I think, 9:45, 10 o'clock or something like that. Game ended around midnight. Game was pretty close to the end. Colorado ended up winning the game. I think it was like 60-53. I mean, two of the guys for Colorado scored 39 or 60. It was Da Silva and Simpson. I watched the game most of the second half on mute, and I was kind of looking at my phone doing some stuff. There was nothing that Colorado did that kind of scared me and was like, ooh, if we don't focus on this, Florida's in trouble when we play them tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon. If Florida doesn't beat Colorado, I think it's a really, really bad year. Unless Colorado does something stupid and goes on like a 20-0 run. I mean, there's nothing that they did. They had 1-3 in the first half. I think they ended up with 4. So if you're basing Colorado on what they did last night, and Florida loses to that team, it's not going to be good.
No, and they shouldn't lose, I don't think. Florida doesn't feel like a get upset team. You know those teams that are really good, but you kind of just feel like they're going to choke. Purdue they've done it literally, so that's part of it. But like, you just look at them and you're like, this team just looks like they're going to choke. Florida doesn't really give me those vibes. I agree with you. They should win this game relatively convincingly, and they've done that all year. I mean, other than the Vandy game. The Vandy game was a really bad loss, but that's their only really bad loss they had all year. Other than that, they always took care of business against teams that they needed to take care of business from. Some were close. LSU game was a little close in Gainesville, but they hung on.
Yeah, they blew that lead.
Missouri game, they blew a lead, almost let them come back. So they've had a couple of scary ones, but they typically take care of business. That's one thing I like about this team, and what makes me think again they're not nobody's upset proof, but it makes me think they're not going to give up an upset. Is they have had, again, outside of Vandy, they have had games where they have played really poorly and still won. I mean, the Missouri game, they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn for a large portion of that game. The rim looked like an ocean to Missouri, and Walter Clayton Jr. fouled out with 14 minutes left, and they still won. Like, that would have been a game to get them. You know, that night, just kind of a perfect storm. All the bad stuff happens. Like, Missouri's not very good, but everything's going their way that night. Like that, a game like that for a team that would be more open to getting upset, I think would lose that kind of game. LSU came storming back on them. They still won. The Georgia game in the SEC Championship, Florida was playing drunk offensively in that game, and they still won. So Florida's ability to kind of be caught in a rock fight at times and have an ugly basketball game get played where they're not playing well and they're in a slump and they can't really get to the tempo they want, and they can still grind out those types of games. So I feel comfortable they're not gonna get upset. How about the second round if they play Marquette?
That should be really good.
That'd be really fun.
That game. When is that game going to happen? If it does, Sunday. At sometime mid afternoon.
I don't know what time.
Yeah. I have this weird feeling that there's going to... Now, Mark Wise came on Hacker's show, works with ESPN, called a lot of the Gator games, calls a lot of the SEC games, Mark Wise. Doesn't think there's going to be many upsets. I think there's going to be lots of upsets today and tomorrow. I mean, like a 13 beating a 4. I just think with college sports in general, but with college basketball, like talent is everywhere now, and you don't have top-end teams. And it just takes one team to have a hot hand and the other team not to play well, and then your season's over. Like it would not surprise me in the slightest if a 16 beat a 1 tomorrow or today.
Who plays today of the 16s and 1s? I think Carolina plays.
Purdue doesn't play because they'll play Grambling tomorrow.
I know this is a great podcast.
Oh, it's a great podcast here. Let's click college basketball bracket.
UConn plays because it's 21st today. So UConn plays tomorrow. Carolina plays today, and I guess everybody else plays tomorrow.
Yeah,
of the 1 second. Tennessee and St. Peter's play.
North Carolina plays Wagner today at 2:45.
I got Tennessee losing to St. Peter's. I think I told you that last week.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I don't watch much college basketball. I probably watch 25 hours, mostly Florida and a couple of SEC teams here and there. But I don't know. I'll be watching. I'll probably watch the end of a lot of these games. I'm not going to watch BYU and Duquesne wall to wall.
Why not?
It just doesn't do it. I mean, I was trying to watch the game last night. I'm just like, geez, this is like bad basketball.
Did you hear what happened with BYU and their seeding and stuff?
No.
So they're I think they're a 7 seed.
They're a 6.
They're a 6. Okay, so they were supposed to be a 5. Like the committee put them at a 5 seed, right? But the way the bracket fell, their game would have been their second round game would have been on Sunday.
And they don't play on Sunday.
And they don't play on Sundays. So they literally changed it so they wouldn't have to play on a Sunday.
Yeah. That's
They got bumped out of seed because they don't want to play on Sunday.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have your rituals, what you want to do, and I mean, I'm glad the NCAA did it for them. If that's what they, that's what they really value, and they don't want to play on Sunday. I mean, you got what you got to do.
You're in the tournament, man. Play on Sunday, bro. Come on, dude.
The Gators 2025 opponents came out. It's basically the same. Am I dumb? I thought that they were going to flip. Whoever they didn't play in 24, they were going to play in 25. I thought that was, or was that a rumor? I thought that was like set in stone.
I'm not sure what.
Because like for example, Florida plays Texas in 24, so then we're going to play Oklahoma in 25, and then in 26, we were going to probably going to go to the pods. Your 4 different sections or the 4 different divisions in the conference, and then know what your schedule is going to be for the next 100 years, because that's how college football works.
It seems like it's a home and home thing first. Like you basically have the same exact schedule, just flipped the next season.
Yeah, and then the non-conference. So Florida will drop. Florida in 25 goes to Miami. They play USF. They play FAMU in Florida State, and then the rest of their conference. Florida again will go to Texas A&M at College Station. If you're keeping track at home, I think they've played them 4 times now. Georgia once. I get why.
And that game was in Athens, by the way.
Yes, that was in 2019. I remember that game because I was at a buddy's wedding. Why people have fall weddings, I'll never know. They need to be punched in the forehead. I understand it's a woman's decision, but you gotta put your foot down at some point in the relationship. I understand Florida and Texas A&M playing is good for TV and all that. I mean, is Georgia and Texas A&M not good for TV neither? I mean, like it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. as to why Texas A&M has been in the conference since 2012, yet they've only played one time.
It's crazy.
Like, and I understand the previous structure that the SEC had where it was just on a loop. What was it? You played one permanent on the other side, and you rotated two, or was it rotated one?
I think it was two. But you would have one at home, one on the road, I'm pretty sure.
And then so that rotation, like I remember Georgia and LSU when they played.
Or it might have been just one.
Yeah. It was one because
so
I remember
with your permanent, you play two a year.
Right, because in that structure, it was like I remember Georgia going to LSU in 2018, and it was like that's a great game. And under this current structure, they're not going to play again for another 11 years.
Florida, Auburn,
which is
same
dumb.
thing. Yeah,
right, which is dumb. Like your good teams should be playing good teams consistently. For the life of me, I don't know why specifically the SEC, but the rest of the big college football conferences don't have like a big schedule release like the NFL, where it's something you talked about. I mean, like this came out yesterday. I was like, hey, here's the schedule next year. All right, move on with your day. Here's March Madness tomorrow.
Right.
Like this should be a big deal. Like college football is the second biggest sport in the country, and you're not propping it up in the offseason nowhere near like it is.
Right.
So Florida in 25 at home they'll play Texas. Just had it right here. Miami's on the road. At home they'll play Florida State, Tennessee, and Texas, and they'll go to LSU, to Ole Miss, and to A&M. So if Billy can somehow survive and keep DJ Lagway and a lot of the good recruits that he's had, that's who you'll be facing in 25. Again, it's not the dates. You're just knowing the opponents of who home and away is.
That'll be a crazy schedule for Lane Kiffin's Florida Gators.
Yeah. As much as I would love to, Matt Hayes told me the other day that Scott Strickland wouldn't even consider hiring him because of his personality and stuff, which hurt my heart. But my God, I will sell my soul to have Lane Kiffin be a Florida Gator coach.
You know how good they'd be, bro?
I don't, because I don't know what a good Florida Gator offense looks like. Honestly, how good could they be? I mean, the amount of schemes, the amount of what they would run offensively with. I mean, imagine Lane Kiffin with Ricky Pearsall the last year or two, or
and Trevor
Eugene
Etienne
Wilson
last 2 years, and Eugene Wilson. Oh, makes me sad.
We'll never know. We will never know. Clemson is suing the ACC. I don't really care to get into lawsuits and all that stuff. Here's what's going to happen. Clemson or Florida State, whatever one is going to jump ship at the ACC first, and then the other's going to follow. And then what's going to happen is North Carolina's going to follow Clemson and Florida State. And then from there, you're going to get into a crapshoot of, all right, who else is going to leave the ACC? Is it going to be Miami? Is it Virginia? Because after that, and all those teams are going to leave to go to the SEC or the Big Ten. After those three or four, the ACC is going to be slim pickings, and then we don't know what's going to be left.
They're going to be either gone, like the Pac-12, or they're going to be what the Big 12 is now, which is they were this big, bad conference that had all these... that had the Texases and Oklahomas in the world, and they're going to replace them with, like, UCF. So, and, I could see the ACC going that route when they lose Florida State, Clemson. You're right, probably North Carolina, those schools. Do they replace them with Tulane? Or, I don't know.
Or Troy,
yeah.
Southern Miss.
Right. So then they become... Then they become kind of this in between. They're sort of... They'd probably still have enough big name, I don't want to say big name, but big enough name members after that to be looked at as higher than your typical group of five of as right now, but they're below the Big Ten and the SEC, so you're kind of creating this middle tier of conference because the SEC and Big Ten are just establishing themselves as head and shoulders so much bigger and badder and making all the decisions and better than everybody else. You kind of got you're going to have the Big 12, the ACC, and who else? I guess just those.
Yeah, because it's not the Pac-2, obviously.
They're going to kind of be in this weird, like, second tier gray area. And then you'll have, like, everybody else, like the group of 5 below that.
Yeah, and this is going to happen soon. Like, this isn't going to happen middle of the summer. It's not going to happen next year. Like, this is going to happen within the next, I'd probably say, month, if I had to guess. Because
Does this happen before the Florida Gators win the college basketball national championship?
Yeah. I mean, Florida State did their thing with the ACC, and then Clemson's following, so it's going to happen. Because the other day, we finally got... so the new college football playoff, the distribution for the revenue got released the other day. Ross Dellinger put out the SEC, each school... Again, this is just the playoff. Because ESPN has exclusive rights to the college football playoff, and it's like $1.3 billion, I think it is. The SEC is going to get each school $23 million. The Big Ten is going to get $21 million. The ACC is going to get $13.7 million, a big drop off. The Big 12 is going to get $12.3 million, and then the Group of 5 is going to get $1.5 million. So all these teams, the FSU, the Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, they're all trying to jump ship now to get that extra money from the TV so they can have all that extra money when this playoff starts. It'll happen soon. I just don't know when, because this isn't something where you can wait and hope for something else to happen.
Where do they fit in, though? Like, where do you think they're more likely to go to the SEC or the Big Ten? I feel like the Big Ten.
I think the Big Ten, too, off the top of mind, just because, like, we haven't... Now, I mean, a lot of the stuff is secrecy between the ADs, the presidents, and the conference commissioners. I mean, remember when Texas and Oklahoma jumped ship to go to the SEC? Like, nobody knew anything beforehand.
And then it just happened.
Yeah, it just happened.
At SEC Media Days.
It just so happened that the SEC commissioner's usually not at Media Days, and he just happened to be there, ironically. Like, it's just going to pop up out of the blue. But I think that, because here's the issue when you bring on teams. You have this pie of money, so to speak. And when you add a team, you have to give up more money from each school. So instead of them getting 23, the money would be less for each school. So would every school be on board with adding those teams? And I don't know if the SEC is okay with that. Like, it feels like they added Missouri and A&M because they wanted to get the state of Texas and they wanted to get the middle of the country from St. Louis and Missouri. Then you add Texas and Oklahoma, which we all know are ginormous brands of college football, which they've been since the 50s and 60s.
Before that.
Right. So who else are you going to add that adds that much value to the conference? I don't think many of them do. And I'm trying to think of, like, Florida State, maybe.
Can I propose a trade?
Of?
The SEC receives Florida State and Clemson. The Conference USA receives Vanderbilt and Missouri.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So when I was doing the show for XL Primetime a couple weeks ago, I brought up to Matt Hayes, who writes for Saturday Down South, the National College Football writer. I was like, could they just, like, kick Vanderbilt? Like, can they just say, like, you're not good enough anymore? He's like, yeah. I would be shocked if they did that. I mean, I don't think that's ever been done. Like, a conference telling a school, go kick rocks, go somewhere else because you're not as valuable anymore. Because everything's about football. And what's Vandy bringing to football? I mean, sure, they're good at basketball every now and then.
They're good at, very rarely even good at basketball.
Yeah, they've shown a run or two.
Baseball is their
baseball.
thing.
Yeah, baseball is the one that they're known for, where they've made their hay. But everything's about football now. This isn't 10 years ago where you're like, oh, the other sports are bringing in a pretty good amount. No, it's all football now. I'll be shocked if that happens, though.
Yeah, I would too.
So, it's already 9:20. Is there anything else you want to hit? I kind of hit everything I wanted.
Because, I mean, you can do that, but like you said, it never happens.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ever happened. Like, you've had independents, like Florida State was independent for a long time, then they joined the ACC. Miami was the same.
Yeah, like there's a reason it's not happening.
Yeah,
I don't know what that reason is, but there's a reason.
The Southwest Conference, South Carolina, Arkansas left them to go to the SEC in the early 90s. So, I don't know. I mean, money talks. I mean, money, especially right now, like this is the last boom that college football is going to have, where all this moving is going around. Like, you're not going to have another big boom in 15, 20 years, I don't think. So,
but money's talked for a long time, and
but money's talking more than it ever has been.
Sure, but Vanderbilt football has always sucked.
Right, but they haven't. We've never lived in a world where players are getting paid. The college football playoff, as its own entity, is a $1 billion industry. Each SEC school is getting $50 to $60 million, and we'll get more as we go from just TV, not including what you get from out-of-state tuition and on game days from tickets and all that. Like, money's gotten so big. It just used to be, fill the stands, get students in there, whatever. Not every game was televised then, neither. I don't know. We'll see. I'll be here, hopefully. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here? Before I start my Jaguars today. Big Meat's coming on the show at 10:40, by the way. Demetrius Harvey. Tournament.
Have you done your taxes yet?
Not yet. Dude, my car insurance has went up through the roof. Has yours?
No.
You might want to check it. So I saw an article that said that car insurance in the state has gone up. Like, it was like fourth in the country. Now it's like second. Like, my car insurance was like $160. Then it went up to $180. Now it's $210. I haven't gotten a ticket or an accident in like ever.
That's so dumb.
That's ridiculous. And my like insurance, the guy I'm with is like pretty cheap compared to like everything else.
Yeah, I paid $200, but that hasn't changed.
It's stupid. I don't get it. And I don't drive a fancy car. I don't drive a two-door sports car. I mean, I drive the most stripped-down four-door car that takes 8 times to crank and has a massive issue.
Bro,
with
you whip the foreign every day.
I do.
What are you talking about?
I do. One hand.
It's a Ford, right?
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I saw it yesterday.
It's even funnier when you drive like I drive a Honda Civic, so call it the foreign.
Only a Honda is a Honda. But yeah,
I don't know why, dude. Taxes are just not that hard to do, but every year it just takes me forever to get around to doing it. I just never want to.
Yeah,
it's one of those things I get home like, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I'm supposed to get like a couple $100. So thanks for that, and that'll help toward rent. And I'll never see that money again. Are you a big? So what's your when you get a tax refund? Do you want to get a lot of money? Do you want to get a little bit of money, or do you want to give money back to the government?
Wait, what?
For your tax refund.
I mean, I want to get a lot of money. What do you mean?
So this is the thing that not a lot of people understand. It's your money. So that money that you have, like say your tax refund could be $1,000. You'd rather get the tax refund for $1,000 than have that money in your check throughout the whole year, than not pay any taxes at the end of the year.
Like have it like. I don't understand what you're saying.
So
I'm confused.
So your tax. The only reason you have a tax refund that's big is because you pay a lot of taxes in your check.
Right.
So let's just say it's $1,200. You have a $1,200 refund.
Okay.
Instead of getting that $1,200 refund, that's your money that you could have had $100 a month throughout the entire year.
Oh, screw that! Just give me $1,200 now.
So
I don't care about $100 a month.
No, but it was from the previous year. So you would rather have the $1,200 at the end of the year, say next January, instead of getting $100 every month.
Yeah, why do I?
The year before.
Yeah.
It's your money regardless. It just depends on how you want it.
$100 a month doesn't do anything for me.
But I mean, you're still getting $1,200 the same.
Yeah, and I'd rather just have it now. I'd rather just have the $1,200 now and go bet it all on March Madness and make it $120,000.
Yeah, everybody's obsessed with the tax refunding.
But I haven't gotten like much at all in years.
Yeah.
Like probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I got lucky one time. I don't know why. I think it was because I was in college or something. But yeah, I mean, I'll get a couple $100, and I'd rather have it to where I don't get any refund or pay any. Like be right around $50, because that way all the money's in my check throughout the whole year. Because that's how it's supposed to be. All that money does.
I see what you're saying now. This whole time I've been so confused what you're trying to say. I see what you're saying. Yes. Because if you have nothing at the end of the year, that means they've done your taxes correctly. So you haven't. Okay. I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I thought you were talking about like a payment plan or your tax refund.
No.
That took.
If I didn't explain that right, I'm sorry.
I did not understand what you were saying. Okay, I get what you're saying. Like, would you rather your taxes just be done correctly? And
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, yeah, but it is kind of fun when you just
get a big refund.
Yeah, it is kind of nice.
Yeah.
I mean, like right now, because I'm about to do my taxes, I wish the last year was done wrong because it'd be cool to just get a bunch of money.
Well, and the way that's in your favor, you don't want to pay $2,000 because you know what I mean.
I haven't had to pay or gotten paid in. Like I said, I think not since I've been at 1010. And this is my third year or fourth. This will be my fourth year. No, because it's 2023. It's my third year filing taxes because I'm filing 2023's taxes, and it's always been done perfectly. It's always been a zero amount. So.
That's good because I mean it's your money and it's
when your check and stuff doesn't fluctuate a lot. It's pretty common for that.
Yeah.
When you work hourly, because like different weeks, you work a different amount. Paycheck looks different depending. Like when I worked at Publix, and I worked hourly, the amount I worked was all over the place. I used to get a lot of tax returns. I get $700-800 a year usually.
Yeah,
I usually go to a music festival.
Yeah, you got 3.5 weeks. The tax day is April 15th on Monday, so make sure you do your taxes. Don't let the IRS hunt you down. How's that commercial go? Have you not paid the IRS and back taxes? Whatever it is. I only hear the commercial probably every day, every year at the same time. So, anywho, that's your tax report brought to you by Dylan Denmark and Graham Marsh. I'm Denmark. That's Marsh. Enjoy your March Madness on this Thursday. Get the podcast at 1010XL.com or any of your 1010XL podcast platform needs. And get us on Twitter at 1010XL Denmark and at 1010XL March. Until then, we'll see you next week.